Hi, wee Bob here, and I'm back, hopefully this time on a more regular basis. And I asked people what they wanted to see a video on, and the winner, with all 8 votes I think I got on my community post, was me doing a full video, a full drawing, start to finish, and blabbing about a subject. So as you can see from the start sequence, this is my drawing for this week. It's kind of portraits, and I've speeded it up to 3 times the speed. I know some people don't like that, but me talking for about 3 hours isn't something you want to listen to, and I'm not sure I could actually talk for 3 hours. So this video I think is going to be about 40 minutes, and I'll talk through some of the thought processes. You can see me do a methodology here straight off the bat, and I'll talk you through some of my thought processes and the main driver for doing this drawing. And we'll just get straight on to that. The main reason I did this drawing was because I've got a new computer. So I finally bit the bullet, as they would say, and got myself a brand new computer, top end kind of thing that I could afford to make Rebelle 6 work even better than what it did in my previous computer, which was 10 years old, and some aspects of the program did struggle, as you have probably seen in previous videos. So we are running free here. I'm going to be doing some comparisons over the coming weeks. I'm going to show you my setup. I'll probably appear on camera at some point as well, and get back to doing a bit of FaceTime on the camera. I just haven't done that in a while for no particular reason other than ease of doing videos and audio, because audio changes whenever you do some different videos. So I'm literally just doing a portrait here and getting a base sketch down using a reference, which I'll bring into the picture a wee bit later. So my new computer in mind, I wanted to see how it would cope with watercolor. It did struggle previously, and I wanted to really test the watercolor features, and I wanted to do some drawing because I've been a wee bit out of practice just due to how much overtime I've been working, but thankfully the overtime has helped me to pay for this new computer. So anyway, this first part here was scripted. For the rest of this video we are off script, other than me sadly sitting here watching myself draw and trying to talk about some of the things that I do to draw and talk about a subject or two. I've got at least one subject, in fact I've got 2 subjects wrote down here. But this kind of method that I'm using here at the beginning is sort of the Loomis type method. It's Hamrib, who's a great YouTuber. I watch her, and I was thinking I'm going to try and kind of go along with a method rather than using the guides that I've shown you in Rebelle 6 previously, which really help you with where spacing should be on a portrait. But I really wanted to just capture the image as I would naturally capture it, rather than it being perfectly measured out, etc. And I did that with 3 different references. My arm's moving on my little armrest here, so you might hear that in the background. There is a main road outside my house, so you might hear some cars in the background as well. The audio is also getting set up this time, so I'm hoping the audio turns out okay. It is on my new computer. I couldn't bring over my settings from my old computer, so we're kind of running a bit kind of ad hoc at the moment as I get everything set up to keep going with the YouTube videos, and the YouTube's going pretty well. So just a big thank you to everybody who's came along, supported me, even though there's not been that many videos up. My last video was really badly received. I think I got like 40 views, but thank you for those that did watch it. But compared to my other videos, I can see that one wasn't really the flavour of the month or what people wanted to see. So we're back to looking at drawings. We're going to be going back through Rebelle. Rebelle has been getting some updates as well, and some of those updates we'll discuss, and they've made some changes that make things better. And for example, the guides, you can now do a lot easier things to get rid of guides and put guides onto your reference photos. So we'll go through them over the coming weeks, but this was the request, which was me drawing start to finish, and I was quite pleased at the beginning with this sketch. What I've been trying to think is, I watched, as I said, Hamrib, who's on YouTube, and I really like her watercolor work, and she always starts with really quite a lovely sketch. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try and get a nice sketch down. Now, when I'm doing real life drawing with pencil and paper, which I do try to get around to do every now and again. I find the control of my drawing a lot easier. I find doing sketches a lot easier. I think it looks a lot better than what I can achieve in digital, and I'm still struggling, and maybe one day I'll find my way in. I don't know if it's to do with the texture, and I know that you can get textured covers for your tablet to make it feel like paper, so that you've got some resistance against your hand movements. But I don't have anything like that, so you just have this smooth surface. You can hear the tapping there, and it's not like a pencil against paper which has the friction, so you've got that kind of pushing against your hand, and I don't know, I just find it very much easier to control and do kind of sketches on pencil and paper. But the subject I wanted to talk about this week, and it was something that caught my eye. Now, I've got quite a, what's the right word? Affinity might be a good word for Alton Towers. Now, if you're not from the UK, you may not have heard of Alton Towers. It's basically probably our biggest theme park, I think, in the UK. Alton Towers. It's a big theme park with roller coasters and lovely rides, and we've been with my kids over many years. We've been going to Alton Towers. I can't remember how many times I've been and how many times I've been on all the roller coasters, even in the pouring rain. But I was just thinking about it this week, and this street art image come up. Now, I knew that Alton Towers were coming up with this new ride. I've got some inside track into some of that, and I knew that there was a new ride coming along, and this street art appeared, and I'm going to put it up on the screen because it just kind of took me aback, because I didn't at first realise it was street art and didn't realise it was affiliated with Alton Towers. I just happened to be scrolling through Facebook, something like that, and seen this. It caught my eye, and I thought, oh, that looks really cool. And I thought it was like a new zombie game or something like that. And I just was blown away by the street art, to be honest. I just thought that's such a cool image and so dark and menacing. I'm going to actually bring it up on the screen so that I can talk about some of the aspects and that. See if I can find it. Here we go. So yeah, I mean, it's just trying to bring it across so that it's in front of me and my voice doesn't travel away to a different point. But Alton Towers have this manor, and it was like a ride that you went on and you shot little kind of laser bullets at these little LEDs on the wall. It was called Jewel, I think, at the time. So they decided to rip that ride out, and they replaced it with the Curse of Alton Manor. Now, I've not been on it. I'll probably be going on it later this year at some point. But it's kind of my scariest thing ever, which I don't like, which is dollhouses. I don't like. When I grew up, I was watching things like Chucky, and I really didn't like things like Child's Play. Dolls used to freak me out. They probably still do to a certain extent. But you can see from the street art, this is a kind of girl standing, looking rather creepy, with her doll in her hand, with an evil manor in the background. And you'd almost actually thought the fence that I can see in the image that I'm looking at was part of the image, but it's not. That fence must be a real life fence, unless I'm mistaken. Hard to tell. I think it's real life. So it's just a street art. I mean, have you found any street art that you love? Has any street art that you've seen inspired you? I went with my wife to her university. She was going to graduate, or we were going to go a wee tour of the university, and there was again some street art up on the buildings close by the university, which I thought was really cool. So I'm just going to pause this briefly because I can hear somebody moving about. So I've lost my train of thought because I get a wee bit disturbed there, but if I keep redoing this video. So anyway, the street art is just amazing. And I was at my wife's university, and the street art there was again outstanding. So have you seen any street art that you love? And maybe you could mention in the comments what it is, that I could look it up. If you've got a street in mind that you know the street art looks really cool, let me know in the comments, because I would love to see what your thoughts are. And do you think it's graffiti? Do you think it should be there? Do you think it's better than graffiti? In my mind, I think street art's amazing, but hey, not everybody agrees. So moving on to my second kind of portrait drawing here. My first portrait, again, I was pretty pleased with getting the kind of basic shadows in there using blending brushes and generally just using the pencil and then the blender. Moving on to the second portrait, actually, again, I was trying to use this methodology, which kind of works for me, but it always usually seems to make my faces longer than I intend them to be, and tends to make the spacing a bit different from what I end up with in the end. I think this one was based on an AVV art. If you follow that artist, he's really good. And just going to pause again here. So my daughter just came through there asking me about Angel Delight and how do you make Angel Delight. If you know what Angel Delight is, it's a powder. You add milk to it, you whisk it, and it turns into like this kind of mousse. Yeah, so she's a way to make Angel Delight, and she was asking me what bowl to put it in, and apparently I was giving her confusing answers. But anyway, as I said, moving on to the second portrait, just trying to get the big features down as normal, and using the blender and the eraser to just kind of try and get my reference to match what I wanted it to look like. Street art is a great thing, and roller coasters, it's one of these things that when you go to a theme park, if you've ever been, you're looking around and there's a lot of artistry in these theme parks. I mean, one of the rides on towers is called Nemesis, and it's a weird one because it's kind of like sculptures of human, meat parts. I don't know how else to put it. It's like an alien or something, and there's like an abandoned bus with graffiti on it, with kind of overgrown like Last of Us type look to it. And it's just, I mean, how cool would it be to be one of these people that just do the artist? I guess it's similar to when you work in a film set, how awesome it must be to work in a film set and make these props that are really cool, and then you see them coming into action through a movie or through a TV series. It must be quite a feeling of satisfaction, and it's one of those things. I mean, I'm sitting today for an hour. This drawing was done over a few days just because, again, time wise, and one of those things is that I'm trying to think what I was going to say there. It's the losing yourself in the artwork, and I've talked about it practically every video that went, and I'm losing my train of thought quite regularly in this video. But that thought of, I was listening to 80s music, and maybe even during this you'll see some of the tunes pop up in the corner, because Amazon Prime decides that it's going to pop up in the corner. You might need to pause really quickly to see what was listening to at the time. It was 80s, it was, I think I found a playlist, it was like modern pop or something, and it just kind of, I try to find playlists, because if I just choose songs I know, that I listen to the same thing all the time, and I quite like to be able to get tunes that I've never heard before, or ones that I wouldn't remember in my head and I wouldn't type them in. So anyway, the point is that it must be cool to work in this industry because you can lose yourself in your work, and I'm sure it's a job like every other job. My job was rather stressful this week, very, very things going on that were emergent and unexpected. So it was a bit of a kind of crazy week, long hours, and it was great just today to sit for that hour and get on with painting, drawing, and my new computer, so I didn't have any of the frustrations, which was one of the biggest things for me. It's one of the things that's put me off doing watercolour in Rebelle, is not being able to really rely on the watercolour to work properly. And I just wanted to do these sketches to then get to a point where I could add some watercolour to it and see how it got on. I'm not trained in the watercolour. I have done it in the past, and I'm going to try and really learn it because I like it. I like the oils as well, but part of the reason for getting Rebelle in the first place was because of the watercolour feature, and I would like to be able to replicate what you see in real life. Right, so the next thing, other than street art in Alton Towers and artwork at theme parks that I was going to talk about was a game called Project Zomboid. And like I said, my last video wasn't really received very well, and hopefully you can watch along, see me doing these the way I do the hair here, or in this case at the moment I'm doing some of the sculpting of the face using shadows. You could argue this at this point we should be using the watercolor to get those shadows, but I was enjoying what I was doing. Again, just really having a shot at different things and wanting to draw, which I love drawing. So, but I've bought a game called Project Zomboid. It's a game where you wake up in obviously there's been a zombie outbreak and you are Joe Blogs, or you hit the random button and come up with, I'm a policeman called Brad Hogan, and you've got a backpack on that's got a lovely wee cat feature on it. And you've woke up in this zombie-filled world and you have to try and survive as long as you can. But you're going to die eventually. The whole point of the game is to see how long you can survive for. And I'm not doing very well. I think I've died in the game, I don't know, probably 10 times so far. But that's... When I was thinking about getting this new PC, I was like, what do I do? I was wanting a PlayStation 5 because Hogwarts Legacy had come out, and I want to play Hogwarts Legacy as well. And I was looking at, did I go get a PlayStation 5? But if I went to get a PlayStation 5, I would also need to buy a new TV. So PlayStation 5, that's quite a bit of money. A new TV's even more money. I need a new PC as well. So do I get a new PC? But that's a lot of money as well. And in the end, I decided I would be better spending my money getting something that can play Hogwarts Legacy and be able to play and draw in Rebelle, and then play games like Project Zomboid, which would probably have ran on my previous PC, to be honest. But you never know, because it is kind of a big world with a lot of zombies and stuff in it. So we're halfway through this video. Like I said, I like this AVV art image that I'm using as a reference. I actually really like the look of his art, and I'm saying him because I believe it's a male artist. I've got like a folder with more or less all his portraits that I can find that I really like. I really love his style and the way he does his brush strokes, and it's kind of the art that I enjoy doing. So let's move on to the next topic. So the next topic I'm going to talk about is H.R. Geiger, who did the artwork for Alien. And again, he's another artist that I have kind of looked to for inspiration. And Alien's one of these movies that I've loved to watch, and I've done quite a few different drawings based on Alien. Never actually, well, I have drew sort of an Alien before, but I've never really focused on the Alien itself. It's always more been on Ripley or Amanda, her daughter from the game Alien Isolation. But I've never really focused on Alien, but the Alien was H.R. Geiger, or Giger, I don't know quite how you pronounce his name. His style of drawing is very, very unique and very, very dark, but it's also quite body part related is probably the best way to put it, as Alien was, and there was a lot of topic around what Alien represented. If you've ever watched the movie, you might know that, and you might know that if you've watched some of the background information. And I was starting to look at H.R. Geiger and then realised, I don't know that I can draw that. It's a bit too adult for me. A bit too not my way in the world. Not something that, not a route that I wish to go down. I do like the skeleton aspect of his drawings. I do like the skeletal look, but when you look at many of his images, they've got a particular theme. It's not a theme that I'm wanting to go towards. It's my for my love of Alien and Alien franchise, and I've seen Alien Fireteam. I haven't ever played it. Probably wouldn't play it because I'm too scared, like a big baby. And I do. Inspiration comes from different places, and it was just one of those things. Have you got an inspiration that you look for or you look at, and who is it? Is one of the masters? I've been watching a few videos, reading a few books with the masters drawings. One of the images that I was looking at recently was Lifeline, I think it's called. I may have talked about it previously. There's a woman getting rescued across a stormy ocean, and I did do a entry to the World Illustration Awards. Now I don't think I'm going to get anywhere with that, but you never know. And I'll put my image up on the screen that I've submitted for that. So this image, what was the kind of inspiration behind this image? And I'm just going to try and find it on my computer while I talk. See if I can find it, because everything is everywhere on this PC at the moment. My PC's kind of shouting at me because I'm playing, I'm recording, doing loads of things at the same time. Let's see if we can find this image. I'm not going to be able to find it, but I'll bring it up on my phone and I'll put it up on the screen for you guys to see. So let me find it on my phone. I was doing also, I've been starting to watch The Mandalorian again. And I don't know if you're a Star Wars person or not. We love The Mandalorian in my household. We love Baby Grogu. And it's been epic so far now. I'm not up to speed at the moment. I am still lagging a wee bit behind. I think we're on episode 4, going on to episode 5 at the moment. Now I'm still scrolling through my phone here as I talk, trying to find my drawing that I did for the World Illustration Awards. And there is, just to mention another thing, there is a competition currently to enter for Escape Motions, and there seems to be quite a lot of prizes available for anybody interested. What I'll probably do is leave information to that in the description. Where is this picture? Because it is not appearing on my phone. Hello? Where are you? You silly sausage. I've got loads of pictures of my wee doggies, which again I can maybe put up on the screen so that you can see what the monsters are that appear and attack me in the morning and make me throw the ball for them. Or just lick your face off. Oh, there, I found it. So the kind of thought process behind this image, there is, I was looking at this Lifeline drawing by, is it John Sargent, I believe. Could be completely incorrect on that, so I'm going to say it's not. But I started doing this drawing, which was based initially on a Angel Genève drawing, and then I went and found the original reference that he used and started utilising that for this face in the surf. Now I didn't want the face to be a full complete face. I wanted it also to be a bit of a kind of a mask, I guess. There was a scene in the mask, I think, where he throws the mask away and it lands in the water and starts floating. So I had this feeling, and as I was drawing, this shark whale shape appeared. So I just played on that, and then some cliffs appeared, and there is some other features in this drawing that I played with. Now, on the screen at the moment, I've started doing my third sketch. Now, the third sketch on the screen didn't quite work out for me. Struggled a wee bit with it. Struggled a lot with it, to be honest, in the final product. I'm not overly happy with this. The first 2 drawings I've done, I'm really happy with. Third drawing, not so much, but I really wanted to just get in and start using the watercolor. Now, what I would say is the watercolor needs you to sit with your finger on the F key so that you can fast dry. Otherwise the water just keeps flowing everywhere. And using this fast dry key helps you to maintain some control over how far the watercolor goes and how it appears on the screen. So it is an amazing tool, and as I say, with my new computer, I'm loving it so far. Loving the watercolors and how they work on the computer. And I just wanted to play with it. That was really the whole focus with this drawing, was to look at how do I get a kind of watercolor effect. And my keyboard is falling off my lap here. Fix it. Anyway, so my drawing for the World Illustration, again, I'm overall very happy with it, and the reason I entered it into it was because this was meant to be the image that I'm going to put onto a book that I'm currently creating. Now, I've not had any time to get anywhere near my book or YouTube, but I was starting to create a book on giving you guys tips on digital art and Rebelle, but Rebelle's maybe not the main focus of the book. The focus is probably more on how to get started in digital art and my journey to date. And So this image was, the idea behind this was going to be the image used on the front of cover of the book, and it was one of my favourite poems because I guess it's my love of movies. If you've watched Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey, how do you say that name? So he's going into space, and do not go gently into this. That's terrible. my brain has died. Do not go gentle into the night. I'm going to bring it up so that I don't ruin it completely. Do not go gentle into that good night. Let's see if we can find it. And it's a big bit. Does it not get quite dark at some point? Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage against the dying of the light. The wise men at their end know dark is right because their words had forked no lightning. They do not go gentle into that good night. Good men the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage against the dying of the light. And it's a poem that is in the movies, and it's a poem that's probably most famous to a lot of people. Now, I think my daughter may have finished her Angel Delight and is heading back to her room. I'm just going to find out, and I'm going to pause this a wee bit here. Okay, so I'm back, and my daughter just sneaked by me with her Angel Delight, and we're going to hit play on the screen so I can see where I am with this drawing. So at this point, I'm not overly happy with the look of the face, and I think it was just I was wanting to start getting into the watercolour, and I got a wee bit kind of desperate to move into the watercolour. And so I found a reference, just started really quickly drawing it, and it didn't quite work out. But one of the things that you should do is make mistakes when you're drawing. Do drawings that don't suit you, do drawings that you don't like, and just keep going to a certain extent. Erase them, erase parts of the drawing, see what you think. And some of the times your mid drawings are actually better than they appear. Like at this point I'm looking at this going, actually I don't mind that drawing, it looks pretty good, but the colours were a wee bit too vibrant. I wanted a bit more of a subtle look to the drawing, and I was using this splatter effect, and you can see me using the fast dry once the watercolour gets to where I want it to go with that kind of brown colour and the blue colour around the girl in the middle's collar. I'm jumping around between brushes and defaulting the brushes where possible. Now, I did do a video last week, I just didn't release it. It was more to do with how to get grunge type brushes into your marker effects. So if that's something that interests you, let me know, because it was quite a quick tip video. So if you would like a quick tip on how to put grungy type textures and get them to work as a dodge and burn type brushes. So you can see me here, I'm using the filters to try and mute the colours a bit, to try and get them to more what I was trying to achieve. And once I was there, I just started sampling off the image rather than bringing more colours into the drawing. I think at a later point I did bring in some of the bolder colours. So I'm trying to use the watercolour here at this point to add some shadowing to the face, but it's not looking quite correct to me. It's a bit too much and it needs to be made more subtle. So again, you can blend watercolour out, which you can't do in real life, but I quite like to try different things. Again, we don't need to mimic real life. It's nice if we can, and if that's what you're used to, and you can come into Rebelle and mimic real life. But me personally, I'm not a vastly experienced watercolour by any means. I just like to draw, and I like to draw cool things. So I just see what works and how do I get the paint on my digital canvas to go where I want it to go. But yeah, so I'm kind of ran out of the ideas that were on my page, and I'm just trying to think of one. Let's talk about a thing that happened this week, and it's to do with an emergency that happened, and I want to know. Again, Scottish, trying to speak proper. My wife recently started a job in a different part of Scotland, and they talk a bit more proper than us Ayrshire people do. And she came home the other day and was like, she said a word and I was like, ooh, you're obviously taking on the words from the people of where you work and talking very proper. But yeah, it's sometimes difficult, especially with longer videos. You tend to drop into your normal way of speaking. But a kind of an emergency happened at my work this weekend, and I'm thinking on my head, how do you capture an emergency in an image? And what I'm thinking is I might go and actually have a quick Google and see what I can find while I'm talking and blabbing away. And if this format doesn't work well, I don't know if it'll be worse than my last video, but we'll see. I'm not going to edit it. I'm just going to leave it in raw and wriggling, as Gollum would say. So what am I looking for? Emergency situation artwork. Let's see what happens when that comes up. Yeah, okay, it's giving me emergency room artwork, which is a bit disturbing. Oh, there's one there. That's kind of cool. So I found one with firefighters. That's pretty cool, actually. We'll go with that one. Talk about this one. So I found a Fine Art America emergency services art, and it's quite amazing. What I was thinking was there's actually quite a few of them here, kind of firefighters, and I seem to have lost the page I was on. There's a police car on fire. Right. I've got one here where there's kind of firefighters and you've got the guy at the top of the stairs about to go in and the flames are bursting above them, and you've got them kind of coming up with their breathing apparatus on. And it's one of those things, have you ever tried to capture an emergency situation? So this emergency situation I was involved in was interesting. It was interesting to see how, because I haven't really experienced it for many years. I've had a number of emergencies over my time in electrical engineering, which is what I do. So I'm an electrical engineer, and by normal, with that discipline, you will come across emergency situations, whether it be electric shock or fire or similar. And it's been a while, and I was quite pleased with how my body responded. It didn't freeze. It kind of more just went into a serious, this is what we're going to do, and also taking on board what other people are saying. And it's one of those things, is it something that you would you like to capture your memories in artwork? Is that something that you do? I mean, it's not something I've ever thought about doing. And I'm looking at my portrait just now. This is the point where I'm not overly happy with it, and I try different things, and then eventually I get to the point where I just erase it. But I don't know that I've tried to do some Zap covers, and Zap is an old retro magazine. Oliver Frey, talked about him in the past. He's an artist who has recently passed away, and he did some kind of battlefield type. He did a lot of battlefield type art over his career. He did a lot for like history, art books and stuff like that. History books even. So he was trying to capture terror and fear and bravery and all these things. And it would drive you down the route of, like, if you just look at more of the image that I'm doing just now, it's more of a fashion piece, if you want to call it that. It's a pop art type drawing that I've eventually made with no real context to it. You can make your own story up for each of these characters. Is it like Charlie's Angels, or is it just a drawing? And a lot of the drawings we see these days are just drawings. There is no story behind them. The Alton Towers Manor one has a story. There's a creepy house, there's dolls, there's a hidden story. The story I'm looking at with this firefighter artwork that I can see is the guy's kind of trying to assess the situation that he's going into. And I do wonder, I'm thinking maybe I should try and do something along that lines. Maybe I should try and capture what happened this week in some sort of painting. At least the emotion of it, because it's been an intense week. I was in one day from 7:30 till at least 7:30, 8 o'clock. So it was like 12 and a bit hours. And from more or less 10 o'clock that day, it was all hands on deck emergency mode. It was adrenaline, right? There's something happening. Here's what we need to do. Now, I can't tell you what was happening because it's not the right forum to talk about that type of thing, but you're in that emergency mode. It's something that you could potentially paint without painting the exact situation. But I've never really thought about bringing electrical into my art. Not entirely. You do with some of the AI and some of the robot type artwork that I quite like, and I have done in the past, brought resistors and schematic type symbols into some of my art. But is it something that you do? Is it something that you would consider doing? Are you a firefighter? Do you draw fire? If you're a medic, do you draw emergency situations with medical? Are you interested in human anatomy from that point of view? What is your occupation? What is it you do? And is it that you want to capture? Like you see a lot of these photographers, and I know that this video has been a kind of a ramble on all sorts of subjects, and well, it was what was requested by the majority of people that voted, so that's what you got. You got me talking nonsense. But have you ever thought about bringing that photography? You've got the guy that photographed the guy in the middle of the road in the tank coming towards him. You've got those famous photographs that we've all seen of real dire circumstances. Is that something that you bring into your art, or is your art an escape? So you could be into flower, watercolors and nice floral pieces. And it just shows you the wide breadth, the width of art that we can do. Another kid's coming up. I think this one's going to work, so I'm going to pause it here just for 2 minutes. Okay, so my daughter's, I think, heading off to work. My other daughter. I have 5 kids altogether. I'm going to pause again. Hello again, so here I am. We've got 3 minutes left. My daughter came and spoke to me, so I have completely lost my train of thought. Now she's screaming in the background because something is annoying her. Somebody's brushing their hair, somebody's drying their hair, there's people sleeping. This house is madness today, and this is why YouTube videos don't get made, because I do them and then people come in and things happen and people need me to go places and pick them up and anyway, at the end here I started using some of the new features of Rebelle 6, which is like the liquefy tool and the push left tool, and I really quite enjoyed using them, and they gave me this nice effect. But one of the things that you see in a lot of images is the image doesn't reach the edge of the canvas quite a lot of the time, unless it's a full painted piece. So I thought, how do I do that? I'll increase the canvas size at the end, and I'll start erasing around the edges, which you'll see in a wee minute as we come to the end of the video, which I think we're close to. So don't leave yet, because there'll be another video that you want to watch on my channel. Honestly, there'll be loads of videos you want to watch. You could watch that last one that did really badly and help it grow and be great, even though clearly it didn't hit the spot with a lot of people and people weren't interested in it. So apologies for that, but there's going to be more videos coming up. I've got a full 4-day weekend. This is Friday the 7th at the moment. I have been looking at fences this morning, and this is a total ramble, but it was enjoyable. This painting process was enjoyable. I'm happy with the end result. One thing I'm struggling with is my style. What do I want to draw? And it's definitely around portraits. I definitely have a love for doing portraits, and portraits in particular styles. Hands and arms is something I'm not particularly good at, but it's something I want to start bringing more into my drawing. So how do I do that? But most of my drawings are going to be portrait based with some element of movie poster and game art cover design. So I'm hoping that this video has been of use to you. I'm hoping that as you watch, you can pause, you can see all the things I've done. If there's a particular thing that you see that I do, that you think, oh, how did you do that? This is unedited, other than me bringing up the odd image, which I'll need to watch back through another 40 minutes of me talking nonsense to then bring in the images where I need to bring them in, because I didn't write down the time that happened at. But I'm hoping that everybody is watching my channel. Like I said, I really appreciate everybody that's watching the channel, and I really appreciate the fact that you are subscribing. I really would like to thank everybody for coming along the journey with me, and hopefully you'll remain on the journey with me. The new PC, we'll see where we go with that and how awesome we can get Rebelle 6 to be, and look at the other things, because one of the things that I dismissed was Sketchbook Pro, and we could go back to Sketchbook Pro and see if it's working any better with my new PC. Look at other things that maybe were a bit more intensive. But yeah, like I says, I'm getting to the end here. I'm starting to increase the size of the image, which I do, and then erase the edges to make it look like this final piece that you see here. So I'd just like to say thank you again for everybody to watching. If you want to see a video on all the features of Rebelle 6, taking you through every feature that I can think of as a beginner, check out the video up in the corner. Thank you very much for watching, and wee Bob is out.